Mound Black Memphis Hollywood seeks Indie Memphis Joint effort of cultural diplomacy. You see, located in Memphis, Tennessee, Indie Memphis is an arts organization that runs a year-round program that inspire, encourage, promote independent films and filmmaking in Memphis. If you are a black person looking in Memphis, it appears to be among the most progressive art organizations in America. Now, in September of 2022, Indie Memphis appointed Miss Kimel Fryer, a cerebral academic African-American female, as its new executive director. You see, Dr. Martin Luther King said, quote, "Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right?" And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because one conscience tells one that it is right. You see, Anthony M. Elmore, a Memphis 5-time world karate kickboxing champion, asked Indie Memphis to stop its association with white supremacy, racism, and black-on-black racism. You see, Elmore, a community activist, used this video to formally ask Kimel Fryer to use her position to stop the Indie Memphis culture of turning a blind eye on the fact that before she was born in 1987, the pre-production of Memphis' first independent feature film was taking place in the historic African-American community of Orange Mountain, Memphis. You see, Elmore asked Indie Memphis to help in his efforts of entering a campaign to get his 1988 film, The Contemporary Gladiator, not only acknowledged by the United States Congress National Film Registry of Historic Films, which films are chosen for its cultural relevance in American culture. Elmore's film is the first kickboxing film in American film history, and the film depicts real-life African Americans who were engaged not in traditional sports like football, baseball, basketball, but the film shows African Americans devoted to the Oriental martial arts, including a real black karate master playing himself. You see, this film, The Contemporary Gladiator, tells the story. You see, while Indie Memphis celebrated 25 years, Elmore asked Indie Memphis to honor and celebrate and acknowledge Memphis independent film history that began in Memphis in the African-American community of Orange Mountain 36 years ago. You see, Elmore explains that white supremacy, racism, and black-on-black racism that exists in Memphis in 2023, whereas Indie Memphis fails to acknowledge or to bring up the subject of Memphis' first independent feature film history, whereas Indie Memphis failed to include Elmore, the cast, the crew, and Memphis' first independent filmmakers to come to Indie Memphis. You see, Elmore explained that it is because we are black and historically Memphis' first independent feature film, Indie Memphis neglect an entire cast, crew of Memphians who experienced in July of 1988 the premiere of Memphis' first independent feature film. Nor has Indie Memphis shared the experience of Memphis' first independent feature film to the Memphis public. You see, Elmore explained, because we are black film, Memphis white supremacy, racism, and black-on-black racism, including Indie Memphis, refused to tell our black Memphis film story. You see, Elmore notes that while Memphis fails to acknowledge Memphis film history, and this is back in 1987, the LA Times archives, just look it up, report on November 22nd, 1987, the story title, films going in production. The Contemporary Gladiator, starring Anthony F. Elmore, being filmed in Memphis, Tennessee. This was the first independent feature film, and yet Indie Memphis do not report about the first 35mm film going into production. See, unlike other filmmakers today, Elmore is the rare case of black filmmakers in America who wrote, produced, directed, and starred, and who also shot 35mm film. You see, unknown and untold, Elmore hired a young film editor whom had just graduated film school by the name of Jeremiah O'Driscoll. Now, Jeremiah O'Driscoll and Elmore sat in the editing booth in Atlanta, whereas Elmore chose the cuts and O'Driscoll did the mechanics. While this was O'Driscoll's first film, Jeremiah O'Driscoll grew to be one of the most top editors and premier film editors in America. Jeremiah O'Driscoll has too many film credits to mention: Denzel Washington Flight, Polar Bear Express, Driving Miss Daisy, Congo. But his first film is The Contemporary Gladiator, shot in 1980. You see, an Academy Award-winning editor can mention The Contemporary Gladiator, but both blacks and whites cannot mention the first independent feature film shot in Memphis because it was made by a black man. Let me explain how white supremacy, racism, and black-on-black racism have robbed Black Memphis out of its most significant Black Memphis film production history. Anthony F. Elmore grew up in a Jim Crow Memphis of rigid segregation, whereas we black people could not enter the front door of the Maricold Theaters downtown Memphis. Imagine a youth who could not enter the front door of the downtown Maricold Theater becomes Memphis' first independent feature filmmaker, who sits down with the owner of the Maricold Theater, Mr. Steve Lightman, to screen his movie as a feature. Elmore's victory was a victory for Black Memphis, whereas a black man could not walk into the front door of the Maricold Theater, got to be on the screen of the Maricold Theater as a partner. Elmore acts Indie Memphis along with Memphis elected officials, particularly the Shelby County Commissioners, to formally come to Orange Mound via a news conference, noting Orange Mound as the birthplace of Memphis independent feature filmmaking, and to kick off Orange Mound Black Memphis Hollywood, a film culture building community via filmmaking. The news conference invites all of Memphis to take part in the movie. No experience is necessary. The call welcomes all Memphians who would like to work in the background, or if you want to learn film, everyone is available to join. There is no discrimination. Elmore asks Indie Memphis elected officials and everyone to join together via culture diplomacy, whereas some of the scenes we filmed in Kenya. Whereas we are using culture diplomacy, joining Memphis and Kenya, whereas we are partnering with the governor of Kisumu, Kenya, Dr. Professor Nango. While you may not know Governor Nango, but many of you know his daughter, Academy Award winning actor Lupita Nyong'o, who is the star of the Black Panther movie. Anthony F. Elmore's 1988 Memphis-made film, The Contemporary Gladiator, premiered in Kenya in 1990, and the film is the first black independent feature film to be premiered in the continent of Africa. Anthony Elmore received a hero's welcome in Kenya, and he met with the late Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi, who named Elmore an African ambassador. Elmore introduced kickboxing to Kenya and is the first person to develop the Barack Obama Heritage Tour in Kenya. Governor Nango and African dignitaries at Elmore's invitation visited Memphis in 2019. Governor Nango promised to come back to Memphis and bring his daughter, Lupita Nyong'o, to Memphis. We are filming scenes of our movie in Kenya, and we ask Indie Memphis to join us in Kenya and welcome the Black Panther star Lupita Nyong'o to Memphis. Our movie, Rock and Roll: A Black Legacy, connects her hometown, Kisumu, and her father with Memphis. We ask Indie Memphis elected officials and all to join us via our exciting film culture, Orange Mound, Black Memphis Hollywood, building community via filmmaking.